All right, this video is about rare earths, investing in rare earths potentially. I'll go through what is my personal top selection, only in my own opinion, the own decisions that I'm making for myself, and the relationship to the melt up. So melt up, real quick, we have this huge initiative, public sector, private sector, military conflicts, geopoly, expansion of the money supply, central banks in a generally easing or a non-tightening mode, all creating this immense amount of stimulus all at once. And I think it can be sustained over a long period of time. So rare earths do fit in there. I do think that although we need to temper our expectations on timing, I do think that we're in officially game time, if you will, for rare earths. This is the real deal here. It has actually started. So let's get into it a little bit. I put out this report. I'll put the links in the description of the video talking about what I'm doing personally related to this. I've been watching this for quite some time, but it's definitely ratcheted up to a much higher level now recently. So here we go. And one thing is this, look, rare earths are going to, and they are getting people very excited. And I think in my own personal view that people need to be very, very careful that you don't do anything too dramatic or impulsive. There is a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, the market's going to decide who the winners and losers are, and the market is going to decide whether or not you're a winner or loser specific to that. So it sounds sexy, but we got to focus on what's real and if the market is validating where we're at. So I'll put this in here. The company we're going to talk about is Neocorp, symbols NB. Who are they? What do they do? They got this project in Nebraska that's all teed up and ready to go. Basically, they're opening up the front gate to it, if you will. It's going to cost about $45 million for that. They have the cash for that. The liquidity is actually much stronger now than it was in recent years. So that's all ready to go, and they're breaking ground on that. They also tease that they're going to be able to potentially expand the business beyond just extracting these minerals, and then maybe potentially set up a vertically integrated supply chain for scandium in particular. So scandium and then niobium, which obviously leads directly to the ticker symbol NB. Niobium has actually been rated by the government as the second most important critical mineral in America. It's not a rare earth technically, but the second most important in terms of its impact on GDP. So it's very, very important. And NB, Neocorp, arguably has the most direct and potent line of sight and direct line to niobium here in America to produce that domestically. So that's kind of who they are. It's a rare earth play, bottom line. First thing we're going to do here is go in and go to Investors Business Daily and do a stock checkup. So when we look at a stock checkup here for NB, we see that first it's in the mining metal ores group. I'll talk about that. It's very important. The overall composite rating is a 54. I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. They have no cash flow. I mean, they're not generating any cash flow right now. So the composite rating is definitely going to take into account EPS, earnings per share rating, and many other things. They're not rated that high right now on that. For me personally, that's how I'm looking at that. That composite rating is not great, but in the context of what we're talking about, I think it needs to be looked at in a certain way. So that's something that jumps out at me right now, right away. The industry group, as I mentioned, mining metal ores. And then we look down here at group relative strength rating, A+. I don't think I can possibly emphasize this enough. The industry group is very, very important. So one thing that NB has working in its favor, regardless of how things shake out, and regardless of my opinion, is it is inside an industry group, mining metal ores, which at the moment is ranked 6th overall out of almost 200, and relative strength is A+ off the charts, meaning the market likes it, and it likes it a lot, and it's been very active with it recently. This group is outperforming essentially every other group in the market, and NB is a part of it. That I think is very important. The fundamental performance, again, I'm going to kind of gloss over this because right now they have no cash flow. So none of these numbers are going to really look good, and they're not going to be very conclusive either way. We're going to jump down to the technical performance. My favorite portion of the IBD rating system is to take a look at this. So when we look at NB, look, bottom line is this. What I'm trying to do and the way I approach these things is I want to know what the market thinks. Where's the market going? What does it think? I can have my own conjectures, my own ideas. I can speculate. I can think forward and project. And that's fine and dandy. But if I'm not aligned with the market, or the market doesn't ultimately align with me, then we're not going to get a moonshot. All right. And yeah, maybe we'll scratch out some winners, but if we don't have real alignment, then I don't want to necessarily allocate a lot of resources there. So for NB, again, they have no cash flow. They have no revenue. It's incidental. They don't have any ongoing operating cash flow. But when we look at relative strength, 96. So the stock's outperforming 96% of stocks on the market over the last 12 months. And they have no cash flow. So the way I look at that is, hey, the market loves it even before they're bringing the money in. That's important. Accumulation distribution rating, A-, and up-down volume, 1.2. Up-down volume above 1.0 is bullish. Below, meaning there's more selling than buying pressure, arguably. And if you see this elevated above 1, to me, that's a very, very strong sign. The higher, the better. The fact that there's no cash flow here and up-down volume is staying at 1.2 with the accumulation distribution rating at A-, to me, is very, very bullish. And you have 4 quarters of increasing of more funds jumping in and buying, bigger institutional players buying more of the stock over time. So that's kind of the checkup and how I would look at that. And then we'll also look at the chart. Here's the chart for NB. Let me get this over here. This is a weekly chart for NB on TradingView. And we have money flow on the bottom and obviously the volume bars and the price. Oh, get rid of that. That's reflected here. One thing that I would look at is kind of go ahead and stretch this out. And, what I see is this. Look, a lot of these rare earths companies, these are not recent IPOs. Recent IPOs are very intriguing in general, but these are not. They've been plugging away for years, just trying to keep this thing alive until the politics finally went their way, which it has now in a big way. But if you look back and see trading volume, I mean, it was essentially, nil. And then you come here recently, there's a huge increase in trading volume. That's an interesting sign. In this case, I'm looking at that in a very bullish way because it's not related to M&A or trying to get rid of the stock. So earlier in the year, or in 2025, you see this huge upsurge on volume rising dramatically. Up-down volume was soaring. And obviously a lot of shorter term swing traders are going to pile in on this. They did, they sold. The way I'm looking at this now is you see the volume kind of winding down. You had this big buyer here, closes down near in the bottom half of the range on huge volume. That was kind of a sign to get out in a short-term basis. And of course, it slides down on decreasing volume. It ultimately does go below the 10-week. And then since then, it's been kind of like hugging the 10-week and trying to snuggle up to it and see if it can get up above it and go from there, down, up, down, up, down, up. And recently, it's been climbing. It's off to a good start this year. So whether or not this stock does very well in the next week or next 2 weeks, I'm not highly concerned. The fact that it's staying in the vicinity of its 10-week exponential moving average, given the fact that we don't even have the operating cash flow, and the reality is we are projecting, we are speculating on what's in the ground and how much that's going to be worth and how big the business could become. To me, that's very impressive, actually. It's hanging in there. I like that. That's telling me that, look, there's a lot of rare earth stocks out there, and there are some that are already well into it. MP Materials, obviously, U.S. Rare Earths, and some others. Antimony companies, they're already selling. They already have product out there, and that's reflected in the market. Then there's another kind of group of them that are smaller, more speculative. And then, maybe there's something in the middle here that's on its way up. And that what I'm seeing here is the market is telling me more likely than not, the market is saying that they like this one and they want to stay in this one. And this volume winding down off of this big rush up, that tells me my interpretation is that a lot of shorter term traders are winding out of positions and more longer term capital is coming in. And that's what's keeping it near this moving average. That's my interpretation. So there you have it. Bottom line is rare earths. If it were me, I would be very, very careful. As much potential as there is, that to me does not mean it's the time to go coming in and going crazy and doing insane things and taking on too much risk, in my personal opinion. That being said, sometimes there are opportunities that present themselves in the market. Sometimes there's bigger picture things, there's macro things moving in your favor. The bottom line is this: America needs to secure its own supply of critical minerals, whether they have the name of rare earth or it's niobium or it's something else or even silver. America and all countries for that matter need to look internally and secure their own supplies. So this is part of that. There's cherries on top with the scandium vertical integration. You got the magnets, you got, all this others, the batteries and all this other stuff with rare earths that can be thrown in. I like this one. I'm not going to be going out and putting a huge chunk of cash all at once. I think my strategy is going to be more along the lines of trying to nibble along the way. And here's why. Normally, if there's already earnings and cash flow out, I would be a lot more comfortable in doing that because the business is already out there. It's kicking out results. They're going to have to report results in less than 90 days because it's going to be every quarter. And you already kind of have that. For this one here, there's going to be a lot of headline risk in both directions. Do they announce something? Did somebody invest in them? That could happen, but I have no idea if or when that would happen, so I'm not going to worry about it. I want to, if I want to accumulate a certain amount, I'm going to be strategically and methodically just trying to do that along the way. I may have some ability or skill to project or pick something, but on a minute-by-minute timing, when there's no earnings, there's no results, and it's pure headline risk, I have very, very low ability to do anything with regards to timing in that regard. So I'm going to use the chart. I'm going to use the tools we have, Investors Business Daily, and do the best I can. But I will be trying to accumulate more and more of this one over time.